This is Felt Ice Cream, a soft sculpture story with Mrs. Orendorf. I began my ice cream by undoing a paper cone. You can print a pattern how to make a cone or just buy a little paper cone. So this is the shape that I traced onto light brown felt. All I did was place this down, and then with a Sharpie marker, I traced around it and cut it out. Here we go. The next step that I'm going to do is to decorate a pattern on the cone to make it look like a waffle cone. For this, I'm just using a little bit of acrylic paint. You can also do tempera. You can do brown Sharpie if you don't have paint. So I'm going to mix just a light brown, not too dramatic. And then I'm going to use one edge of the cardboard, and I'm going to print a diagonal pattern. One. Make sure that you get that line. Two. It all depends on what color you want. If it turns out, acrylic usually dries a little bit darker. So if this is too dark, you can go a little bit lighter till you get the shade that you want. Hold it in place with one hand. Make sure that they are about the same distance so that your pattern stays even. If you see that part of it is running out of paint, so what I did is just dip the cardboard again. Press, 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 wiggle, wiggle a little bit to get that solid line, and then move forward. Notice how I dip before every time I print. So it's like loading your brush, you're loading your cardboard. All right, when you are done, you have to let it dry and wait until the next time. I'm beginning the stuffing of my cone with 3 paper towels. I'm just using rough classroom paper towels. You can also use newspaper, or you can use any other kind of soft paper that you can crunch up. Okay, this is to give the inside of your cone support. So I'm making a crunched up paper towel, but I do not suggest making a ball and then stuffing it in there, because if you do that, this tip of the cone has no support. So what I'm suggesting is you make a good sturdy kind of tip to go into your cone, stuff it in all the way to the bottom of the cone, and then keep stuffing. That will give your little point, your end, plenty of support. And then we have more space to fill. So for this, I just made another crunched up paper towel, stuff it in, and then a third. Stuff it in. If you feel that it's still not flat enough for your taste, you can go ahead and crunch up a fourth. I think 3 for me works because the size of my paper cone is quite small. So then with a piece of masking tape, I'm going to secure the tape on one edge, one side, and then gently run it across the top and secure it on the other side. Press a little bit hard on there so it's nice and secure. All right, if you pull too hard, your paper cone will lose the circular shape at the top. So keep going. I would do at least 2 pieces of tape running opposites across, so sort of like an X. If you want extra support, you can do 2 more going across. In the end, it will probably most likely look like an asterisk or a star. The next step is to make the inside ball that's gonna go in your scoop. There's different ways you can stuff this scoop. For me, the easiest and least expensive way is to make a paper ball. So you're gonna make about the size of a softball or your fist, and then how big your hand is, right? So I have this. So I have all my little paper balls, and then I'm going to make a little bundle. So wrapping a present. And then it's nice and secure on the top, and we just have to put a couple pieces of tape down here. Make sure that your pieces of tape are long so they don't look like tiny band-aids. Okay, you can even go all the way across and around to make sure you have a nice, sturdy paper sphere. This is good. About the size of my fist. There we go. All right. So now, this is the inside structure. Step 3. Let's get ready for the scoop. So we have our softball size sphere, paper sphere, and now we are ready to cover it with felt. We are providing our students some yellow for vanilla or some brown for chocolate. So the way that you can start is I made a big enough circle that would go around the sphere. Okay, you want to be generous with your fabric so it goes all the way around. So for this one, I did with my little safety compass about 3 1/4. So I'm going to show you how I did that. You hold your finger there, you put your tip of your pencil, and you rotate. So this is about 3 1/4, about so. All right, then you cut it out with your scissors. This is what I did. And then on a piece of felt that's big enough for your circle, you are going to trace that. I traced it with Sharpie. You can see a little bit on the edges. And then with scissors, you have to be very careful cutting it out so that the scissors don't get stuck. When kids kind of cut sideways, it kind of frays the fabric, so you want to go right on top and then press down. All right, see that? Just cut a little bit. So now we are ready for the sewing part. This is how you are going to gather the edges of the felt. And here, it doesn't matter what color of thread you use. I have red available, so I'm going to use that. And we're going to use with our students a big needle. Okay, so you can see the eye of the needle. We call this the eye of the needle. And you're going to put, now the size of the string, the length, I kind of guesstimated for it to go around twice. So 2 layers of that string, because we're going to do a double string to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. So it goes into the eye of the needle, pull it through, and then you get your 2 ends of your string together, and then you just kind of go around your finger, make a little loop, and then push the 2 ends through the little loop and pull them. Ta-da! All right, there you have it. If you want to do a second time, you can go ahead, just to make sure that it's nice and strong. Okay, and many kids know how to do different knots because of the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, so that's great. Next, I'm going to go into the felt, and we are just doing a simple, basic running stitch. In and out, in and out. So you can do about 3 to 4 little broken lines with your string, pull it out, and then go for it again. You're gonna repeat this and do it until you go around the entire circle. So now I'm ready to wrap my paper towel sphere. I'm going to put it in the middle and then gently pull on my string, and it's starting to gather around my paper sphere, my ice cream scoop. Now we're gonna call it an ice cream scoop. So you just gently keep pulling until it gathers. And it may not completely cover the whole thing. That's okay, because this is gonna be facing the bottom of the top of your cone. So here, I'm going to hold it in place because I want it that tight. I'm gonna go in and do one loop, just like that. Feed my needle through there, and that gives me a end knot. So that's how you seal the deal, right? And then if you want just a little more support, what I did on my first one is I went through across, and this kind of pulls it. You can go through the opposite end again. So we're kind of making stitching going across, and then the other way. And so now I have some stitching going this way, so now it's really secure. And then you can just go in through here, make a little loop, right? Feed your needle through there and pull. That gives you a nice little knot. Okay, you can do that again. Put your needle under those pieces of thread, make your loop, go through the loop and pull. Okay, so now you have a nice knot. Cut the rest of your string off, and you have your scoop of ice cream. Now, some other people, teachers, students, they like to stuff their scoop with pillow stuffing or batting. You can just take it apart and make it soft. If you want your soft sculpture to be extra soft, you can do that. You would, again, make your little sphere out of whatever you are putting inside, and then do your stitching and gather it and make your ice cream scoop. If your felt is dry with your painted pattern or drawn pattern, then you are ready to cover your cone. This is the first one I made. It turned out quite dark, so I made another one that's a little bit lighter. I'm kind of liking this one a little bit more, so I'm gonna leave this as backup in case someone needs it, and I'm gonna use this one. So you will need some Eileen's tacky glue. You can pour some on a paper plate and then brush it onto your cone, or you can use a Q-tip or a popsicle stick. The easiest thing that I found was to just squeeze a few strips of tacky glue on the cone, and then with my finger, I'm going to rub it smooth all the way around. We are going to wrap your cone. I would start with this part here, leaving the little tail for the end. Okay, make sure you go around the edge right here. Keep going. I made mine just a little bit taller than the actual cone so that it would overlap all that tape and cover it up, not leaving a gap. And then here, see the little tail? This is gonna wrap around to seal the tip of the cone. You may need to put a little more glue on the back of that. Now, Eileen's tacky glue is not like a hot glue gun where it dries right away. You have to be patient with it. So while it dries, I would suggest putting just a little piece of masking tape to hold that in place while the tacky glue dries. That is exactly what I did with this one. If you get some tacky glue on the felt, that's okay, it will dry. Now, if you have that little problem there where you have some tacky glue but you don't have enough to hold it when it dries, I would do a little more, fold it in, and then I would put some masking tape on there for sure, sort of like a little band-aid. to hold it in place while it dries. While I was letting this dry, I made another scoop of ice cream. This one should be strawberry. This was the only shade I had big enough to make a second scoop. So I'm going to make two. I mean, this would be a gorgeous lesson if you wanted to do even 3 or 4. The more colors and taller you make it, the more fun it will look. The only thing is that if you make it tall this way, make sure that your cone kind of matches in size. Otherwise, it's not really realistic if you have a super tall ice cream scoop and then you have an itty bitty cone, right? So I'm gonna keep this one to 2. And I found a little scrap of white felt. So I basically, when you make your melted frosting or syrup or whipped cream, in this case, you get a small piece of felt, just a scrap, and then you make the wavy line, sort of like a paint splatter or a flower. Cut it carefully and then measure. If it's too big, you can trim it a little more. If it's too small, that's your call. Make another one, maybe. And we are ready for our grand finale, our little details. With the hot glue gun, I glued down my 2 scoops to my ice cream cone. You can see a little bit there. Here, you can use the hot glue gun as well, or the tacky glue. Just remember, tacky glue will require for you to be patient with the drying process. Now for the last details, on this one, I made a cherry, or you could call it a gumdrop if you wanted to, with white Model Magic, and then I added some washable marker. I mixed it, and then I shaped the little cherry or gumball, whatever you choose to make it. Now on this one, I made just a little piece of a pipe cleaner with a red pom-pom, and I feel like that is also a really good look for this project because it's a soft sculpture. And lastly, I have here some tiny pom-poms that I'm going to use for like sprinkles. And I have just a little bit of tacky glue here. And all I'm going to do is kind of get a good grip of these little pom-poms and then plump, just place them randomly, sporadically here and there to create a colorful pattern. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I've had a blast making it. It's been quite easy actually, and not too messy. So I can't wait to see what my students create. They always blow me away. Yes, you do, guys. You are very creative, and I celebrate your artistic genius. Okay? Keep creating. Keep those creative juices flowing. See you later, guys. Enjoy your ice cream.